Good evening. I'm Eric Hackley, and this is Hackonomics. Tonight is a live call-in show. The phone number will be on the screen, and just like the other shows that we've done in the past few months, we'll be talking about William Lynch. People ask me, why do we talk so much about William Lynch? And I always tell them, because no one else is. Tonight, I'll be joined by two distinguished people from Fort Wayne, Mr. Triant Muhammad and Jihad Shabazz.
First and foremost, and I thank the Creator for allowing me to be here. It's accurate in some aspects, but you're missing the perspective in others, because it was never intended for black people to have anything called emancipation. Emancipation means to free from thy hand, but not from thy control. Caucasians never intended for us to be in direct freedom. They gave us a sense of freedom by allowing us to disassociate ourselves with the concepts of slavery, but then we went back into slavery by sharecropping and things of this nature. So slavery is slavery by any other name, whether you call it sharecropping, slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, or integration, it's still slavery.
Jihad, what is your take on that observation?
I think when President Lincoln gave his speech on Emancipation Proclamation, I'm sure without a doubt that Willie Lynch would never have come into the scenario about the whole aspect of how slavery began. His whole aspect was about uniting both of the two countries that were separate. And they talk about things that eventually gave strength and empowerment to this country, talking about Willie Lynch and how you enslave and perpetually enslave a people to do what you want to do, and that was basically work for this country to make it as wealthy as it was. Of course, that wasn't going to be addressed. I think in the Black Power movement, there were certain elements that were being addressed about Willie Lynch and certain segments of the Black separation movement, but of course, that wasn't being applied into mainstream society, which was focused more on the nonviolent aspect of the Black movement. So in essence, it was different, but there were some elements in the Black movement during that time that did address Willie Lynch, but didn't necessarily get a voice.
Okay, we want to make sure that folks know that this is a live call-in show. And again, a lot of people don't like the idea of talking about slavery and talking about emancipation. They think that this stuff was in the past, so therefore is not worthy of being discussed today. Kay, get that first video drop in ready to go. And but before we go there, Triant, how did you first become aware of William Lynch?
Well, I became aware of William Lynch as far as terminology used at the Million Man March, when Minister Farrakhan was speaking upon the concept that William Lynch had projected at that point in time on the banks of the James River. But the symptoms of William Lynch has been in effect, upon conception, because even though we might not have associated it with that particular name, the mentality had already been constantly perpetuated from generation to generation to generation. So the effects of William Lynch had already been felt even at childhood, but the terminology I became astute with at the Million Man March.
Okay, we're gonna talk more about William Lynch throughout the show. And go ahead. Okay, we'll go ahead and run that first clip. Go ahead.
Prison than they do to college.
Oh, God.
And it's not just about going to college, it's about having some common sense, being an entrepreneur, having your own business, taking care of your business. I want to praise all of y'all for being here. Hopefully this place will be full and they'll be beating the doors down to get inside, because there's a problem in Fort Wayne. It's a big problem. Hold folks accountable. You got no business eating pork when you got something like this going on over here today. Black folks is in too much trouble. We have to stop making excuses for ourselves. Folks need to check in. They ought to have butts and seats. This is a travesty. This is a travesty. But thank God for you, because it has to start somewhere. Somebody's got to start something right. Thank God for you to coming down from Chicago. And I want to thank Pastor Bush for having me. God bless you all. May you save your children, because remember, the buzzword in the public school system is at-risk kids. The kids is at risk. No, they're in danger. They're going to jail. They are building jails faster than colleges. They expect our minority children to show up there. They're very valuable. The system, they say the system is not working. The system is working perfectly. Slavery is alive and well.
Okay, we're back live again. That was Victor Woods, who came down from Chicago, and he spoke at our past summer's event on William Lynch. Before we talk about Mr. Woods' comments about slavery being alive and well, we have a phone call. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out how I've got a subscription to Journal-Gazette, unfortunately, and they never hesitate to publish articles that are influential in dividing the black people and the white people and other races of Fort Wayne. Whenever there's some type of incident, they're always there to report it in order to inflame racial tensions and divide the people of Fort Wayne. A notable example was last week about there was a Tracy Warner editorial about some racist group that distributed literature, and they were talking about white schools and white people and everything like that. But along those lines, too, then I thought, well, you know, we have Fort Wayne Community Schools, which is very highly diverse and multicultural, and then we've got all these suburban schools that are all basically white, and what they've gone to now is segregation by suburbs is what I would call it, and we need to have some kind of unischool system where we have one county-wide school system where all the races and all the white people and black people and everybody, you know, can all mingle. When I was in high school and grade school and junior high back in the 60s and 70s, I never had any contact with black people and minorities, and because of the integration of school systems and running into these different groups of people in school, I think it made me a better person for it, because it gave me an understanding of, you know, what other people are like and what other people are thinking, rather than being isolated in the suburbs like the other systems are. That's all I wanted to pass on. You know, you guys are doing a good job out there. Thank you very much, brothers.
Okay, interesting comment. You know, it seems like the only, when I was in school in the 70s, the black schools in, well, Fort Wayne is, there's no blacks here anyway, but some of the blacks did, you know, like Central, and we had a lot of South Side and a few other schools. But my point is that the main intercoursing was through athletics. But Jihad, how would you comment on the gentleman's observation?
I mean, the gentleman's comments, they were of good intention, but I think there's one key point that needs to be made historically, and that is by intermingling the races as right after the 60s movement and into the 70s did not in any way make a 180-degree turn on prejudice and racism, because you still find all the economic and statistical factors saying that black people and Hispanics are still far behind in reading, literacy, mathematics, and things of this nature. So by just combining the races to get to know each other, the problem seems to me has gotten worse. But what we'll find out when we speak to Victor Woods, there's an expectation that young black males have to is mandated that they meet, and that is being criminally insane and been brought into the justice system before they're even taught the ways of how to become what we call productive citizens. So in essence, when I hear certain things about in suburbia you have white schools that are pure white, and that you have forming community schools mingling the races, just by mingling the races is not going to solve the problem. There's expectation that needs to be met, and there needs to be a re-evaluation of the educational system when it comes to minorities, not just by mingling them just to say, hi, how are you, what's your name, can I come over to eat, and things of that nature. And there needs to be something as far as a re-educational process. As far as black people are concerned, this is what we're trying to do with Willie Lynch. We're going to the origin of how this perpetual ignorance in our community has had on us. Even if we separate ourselves or integrate ourselves, the problem still remains. So in essence, I agree with his good intentions. They are good, but I think he's missing the historical fact of what black people we need to do in order to defeat these expectations about our community.